You've tried to evolve. You've meditated, reflected, followed the steps. But beneath it all, something still feels stuck. Like a quiet hollowness that no mantra or method ever truly touches. You sense there's more to awakening than what you've been told, but no matter how much you seek, you keep circling the same emotions, the same patterns, the same invisible wall. It's not because you're lazy, lost, or broken. It's because most spiritual paths only show you the surface. They give you rituals, words, ideas, but not the tools to cross the threshold that actually changes your frequency. And until you cross that threshold, every breakthrough becomes another loop. This video is not about more techniques. It's about revealing what's been blocking your transformation from the inside out. By the end, you'll understand why your growth feels stuck and how to finally move beyond it. You're not stuck because you're doing it wrong. You're stuck because no one told you this. The first stage of awakening feels like progress, but it's often the beginning of a deeper trap. Everything is new, expansive, full of meaning. You start to speak the language of transformation, surround yourself with aligned ideas, feel lighter than before, and it seems like evolution. But slowly, that same growth becomes your new identity. You say all the right things in spiritual circles, about presence, boundaries, vibration. But your nervous system still panics when you're alone. You teach about letting go, but secretly hope your life changes first. Ask yourself, have you truly evolved or just updated the language around your wounds? This is the loop. Awakening becomes performance, a costume. The ego doesn't die in the light. It adapts to it. It tells you that speaking calmly is the same as being at peace, that quoting Rumi is the same as living his truth. And because the words feel noble, you stop questioning the patterns beneath them. The ego doesn't resist awakening. It recruits it. It mimics spiritual growth so convincingly that you begin to mistake image for embodiment. And here's how to know if you've been caught in the loop without realizing it. Another meditation, another journal entry. But instead of peace, there's a quiet heaviness you can't shake. You've done the work, yet nothing really shifts. You switch from breath work to shadow work to energy clearing, hoping the next thing will finally click. You say you're surrendering, but you're still refreshing your inbox, waiting for that job offer or text to prove you're aligned. You're caught in what I call the spiritual spin cycle, going through the motions of healing without ever feeling whole. These aren't failures. They're signals that your awakening has stalled at the surface. If your practice feels like a checklist, if your triggers still rule your reactions, if your peace depends on how life responds to you, you're not evolving. You're avoiding. You tell yourself you're growing, but beneath the rituals, your nervous system is still bracing. Your inner child is still negotiating safety with the external world. And you keep searching for the next tool, the next answer, the next breakthrough to save you from the discomfort of your own presence. But nothing real will shift until you stop trying to transcend your pain and start listening to it. Your soul isn't asking for more progress. It's begging for your presence. Like a chameleon, the ego doesn't disappear. It blends into the light and calls itself awakened. It rewires its image, not its essence. It learns to speak softly, wear mala beads, and share wisdom on timelines, all while protecting the very identity awakening was meant to dissolve. Growth becomes a costume. You post affirmations, but still panic when things don't go your way. You teach surrender, but resist uncertainty in your own life. Comfort keeps you safe, but it also keeps you small. The more you defend your spiritual image, the less you're able to transform. The ego fears extinction, not evolution. So it cloaks control as alignment and fear as discernment. It tells you to avoid conflict and call it high vibration, to suppress anger and call it detachment. But repression is not transcendence. Detachment without embodiment is just disconnection. True evolution requires honesty that burns through illusion. It asks you to tell the truth, not just speak beautifully. To feel your fear, not spiritualize your avoidance. You don't need to look enlightened to become free. You just need to stop lying to yourself. Eventually, every seeker hits a wall where nothing they've learned feels like it's working anymore. That's when the real path begins. Not the curated journey of tools and teachings, but the raw, unfiltered descent into what's true. Real transformation begins with disillusionment, deepens through surrender, and unfolds in silence. It is not the collection of insights, but the loss of illusions. It asks for no performance, no certainty, no image to protect. Presence is not passivity. It is radical intimacy with what is without flinching, without fixing. You begin to see that most of what you called healing was just control wrapped in compassion. You stop chasing upgrades and start facing what you've spent lifetimes avoiding. Basher calls this alignment with your highest excitement, not because it always feels good, but because it's always real. Franz Barton teaches that mastery starts with stillness, because until you can hold power over thought and breath, you cannot shape reality. Eckhart Tolle reminds us that the now is not a doorway you enter. It is the fire that burns away everything you are not. Even the urge to be deeply awakened can become ego in disguise, clinging to identity through the back door of depth. Few choose the real path, not because they're not ready, but because they're afraid of what they'll lose. But everything false must fall, so that what's real can rise. Freedom doesn't require force. It begins when you stop pretending and start listening. The path forward isn't about effort. It's about intimacy with your own experience. Most suffering doesn't come from pain itself. It comes from your resistance to feeling it. That's why the first tool is awareness without interference. Before you heal, witness. Sit with what rises. Let your discomfort speak without silencing it. Do not label it. Do not run from it. Just notice what it's asking for. The second tool is breath. The breath is the bridge between body and being. It keeps you anchored when the mind tries to flee. When discomfort rises, don't reach for a mantra. Let it pass through you like wind through open hands. Breathe slowly, deeply. Stay in the moment until the charge dissolves. The third tool is energetic integrity. Every time you act from alignment instead of fear, you change your field. Say no when you mean no. Speak truth when silence feels safer. These micro shifts reshape your entire vibration. The fourth tool is stillness. Not silence as escape, but stillness as surrender. Sit without needing clarity. Let the answers arrive in their own timing. The fifth tool is resonance. Not routine, not habit, not discipline. If something feels dry, pause. If something feels alive, trust it. Spiritual tools are not meant to fix you. They're meant to reveal what never needed fixing. You don't break the loop by becoming more spiritual. You break it by becoming more you. Maybe all this time, you weren't failing. You were just in a cycle that was never meant to free you. Feel into your body right now. What's softening? What's ready to be seen without judgment? You were orbiting a closed loop, chasing healing, performing awakening, hoping to finally arrive. But the truth is, the door was never locked. You just forgot. It was yours to open. You were never broken. You were never behind. You were simply learning, through repetition, what doesn't lead you home, so that when you finally arrived, you'd recognize the frequency of truth. Now, you feel the difference between effort and alignment, between image and essence, between seeking and being. And slowly, silently, you begin to release what was never you. If this stirred something awake in you, share what shifted. Speak it into existence. And if you're walking this path with us, subscribe. We're remembering together. You're not chasing awakening anymore. You're becoming it.